Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good start of the new year. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about the expenses of my Camry for the 5 years of I had it. So let's get straight into it. The year was 2019, and in that year, I decided to buy the Camry. Now, how did it all start? So I did have this one friend who had a 2018 Camry, and he kind of convinced me to get one, so I did. And at that time, I had a 2000 Honda Accord Coupe, the two-door version, and it was leaking oil. So that was the main problem, and I was told I had to get rid of it. So what better way to do it than just to trade it in for a new car? And so when I did trade it in for a new car, honestly, they gave me like $500 for that car as a trade-in. And so the car, the 2019 Camry that I have now, it was like 26 and some change. So rounded up to $27,000. And so let's get into it. So with it only had 3 miles on it. And when I got it, see, the thing is, I bought it on April, but I did have some issues with how should I put it, gap insurance. You know, there was a gap in my insurance, and so when I had the 2000 Honda Accord Coupe, when I first bought that car, I took a little long time to get it insured and stuff, and because of that, the gap in insurance, long story short, it cost me $200, and it was put on hold. So when I bought this Camry in April, and it was only in June that I actually like, it was official with the whole registration and stuff. So I got officially registered in June. So let's say June the 1st. It was only 3 miles, like I said. That at South Carolina Motor Vehicle Department, aka DMV. And it would have cost me $500 if I did it on my own, but because the dealership took care of that cost, so they paid the $500. I did pay for that. Okay, so then on the 8th, so when I had 5,000 miles, 5,229 to be exact, I had my first oil change. Now, courtesy of the Toyota dealership, they gave me a free oil change, so I didn't have to pay anything. Then at 6,443 miles, I got a first nail in the tire, and it was not repairable. And so therefore I found out the cost of a brand new tire was $196.66, which was a big deal for me, because when you have a 2000 Honda Accord, I'm used to like the tires being like $50, $60, maybe $80, but like you're jumping from that to like $200 per tire. I'm like, wow, this is a big shocker for me. So yeah, just if you ever decide, if you have this car and you want to know or if you plan to buy this car and you want to know what's the how much the tire would cost, just let me know. It'll be around $200. Now, right now, if you go to Walmart, you get tires for like $120, maybe even a discount tire too. It'll be like around $120, closer to $200 too. Depends on what tire brand you get, but be advised that you would be spending over $100 for a tire. Now moving on, so when I had 7,000 miles, 7,115 miles, I had to do an inspection for Uber and Lyft. I wasn't sure which one I did at that. I first started off with Uber, so I believe this one was Uber. So I did it at Meineke Car Care Center. I had the inspection, which was only $19.99, which is fairly priced. There's nothing really. And then so the 10,000. So when I had 10,527 miles on my Camry, I did an oil change, the 10,000 mile oil change, which apparently I realized it cost me $117.78. That's including tire rotation, my like inspection, all that stuff. But like I was really paying for the oil change and tire rotation, and I was really shocked. I was like, really? I come in for a free oil change, and I believe they gave me three free oil changes, and I kind of got used to that. And then out of nowhere, you got this. Yeah, so then the 15,000 mile oil change is for free. So then, trying to do the 5,000 mile oil changes, like I'm a good boy, I did it. So, and then 17,569 miles, I got into a wreck, which was not my fault. Okay, so I kind of made a sharp turn near the neighborhood I lived in, and this one guy and his family kind of hit me on the side, so I got T-boned. Everybody's okay. You barely see any scratches on that car. I believe it was a gray Sienna, Toyota Sienna. But anyway, yeah, I didn't pay for that, so they paid and they covered everything. And I did in that moment, I did have to get a rental car. And so when I got the rental car, I had to pay the insurance on my behalf, because like when you get a rental car, you still have to pay your insurance. Their insurance not gonna cover that. So, and I think I was out for like a week, maybe a week and a half. I want to say a little more than a week. And when I had this car and I was driving, I got like this gray. It was like a similar year. I'm not exactly sure what year, but it was like a similar year. It was a gray Camry. It was the LE version, which is mine is the SE version. And so it was funny when I was doing Lyft, and I had to keep telling people, like people look at me, it's like, hey, it says a white Camry. I was like, and I was driving a gray Camry, and I had to keep explaining to them, like, hey, yeah, I know, I got in this wreck, this is a rental car. It's like, oh, okay, they were understanding. So that was all that, and so obviously I didn't pay anything for that. And then you got the 19,000. When I had 19,981 miles on it, so I did the 20,000 mile service, oil changes mostly, and that oil change was $109. Yeah, kind of pricey when you just go in for an oil change, and then they do tire rotations, and because of all this labor and taxes and stuff, you're spending over $100 for an oil change. Like, I was not happy about it, but I was like, well, I guess this is how it's supposed to be, whatever, So, yeah. And then when I hit 25,000 miles, 25,069, so I did a 25,000 mile service, another oil change, and that one also was $100. Then 29,860 miles, hit around, did another oil change. That one was only $80. And then here's the kicker. Okay, so 35,081 miles, the Toyota oil change, that one was for free. All right, so in the whole 2019, we had 3 free oil changes courtesy for them. There was one oil change that I did get. I don't remember if it was this one or in the other years to come, but there was one oil change that I did at Toyota. Because I waited over an hour or something, I guess they felt bad for me, and they said, okay, well, we're not gonna charge you. You're good, So I mean, I'm happy that happened, So overall, in the year of 2019, I spent a total of $622.98, and that is not including the whole price of the car. So assuming that you don't include, paying the whole thing off, because I got a loan for the car, so it's not like I just paid cash. I did payments, and I think I started doing payments of like $430, a little over the what was I supposed to? I was supposed to do like, I think it was like $340 per month, but I did $430 at first few months, a few years, and then I started doing $500. If I had a good month, I would pay a little bit more, maybe $1,000. I'd throw at that loan. But overall, I started paying off $430, but then I started paying $500, and then not because that was my payment, but because I wanted to pay the car off faster, right? So initially, I think it was really around like $340, around there. That was my monthly payment, and the loan was supposed to be like a 6-year loan. So And don't ask me about the interest rate. I don't remember. All right, so yeah. All right, moving on to the year of 2020. So in this year, what happened? My service schedules wise, so 40,263. That's how many miles I had at that time. So I did another oil change, and that one was $58. That's when I got a little smart and said, "Don't do tire rotation. Just do me an oil change, and that's it." So that was a little bit cheaper. Then 5,000 miles goes by, and at 45,311 miles, I went to Meineke Car Care Center, did an oil change, cabin air filter, and altogether that cost me $137. Yeah, still over $100 on that, but you learn. Then at 51,527 miles, I did another oil change, which was $80, which that time was only oil change. And then 55,000 miles, 656 miles, same thing. So you could tell all these 5,000 mile oil changes that I started doing, they were all $80 at Meineke, which I started doing because it seemed more convenient for me to go at Meineke because it was a lot closer. Would you rather drive 20 minutes to get an oil change, or would you drive like 30 to 40 minutes to get an oil change, right? So I had a dealership that was even closer to me, but the dealership had better pricing, everything at a different city, so that's why I kind of did that. So, every 5,000 miles, you get the idea. And then you see here at the registration, I paid $300 for registration. That was on 08/03/20. So I do apologize. I don't have the mileage on that, and maybe a few other registrations. I wasn't really tracking. There's really, it was my fault. Okay, I'm gonna admit it. It was my fault. I should have done that. But either way, you can kind of see where I'm at right here. So $300 for registration. So now you know. Then at 84,724 miles, I went to a Take 5 oil change, which is a quick lube oil change. And I thought, trying to go to different places, trying to get a cheaper deal, trying to get a better deal. And that one, it cost me $60.18, which is, we're doing better, trying to stay under 100, but which is good. But I don't want to say anything negative about them. I'm sure they meant right. But I would mention that the next oil change, when I went back to Meineke at 86,000 miles, 599, that the mileage when I got, and well, I was in there for a brake pad, but anyway, the next time when I went to an oil change, what happened is the Take 5, the quick lube, in other words, they didn't tighten the drain plug all the way, and so apparently I didn't know that until my next oil change at the shop that I used to keep going at. So in other words, it might just be me, but I'm just really against quick lubes. All right, I would avoid them. Best thing you could do is change your own oil in the backyard. If you can't, I get it, go to these dealerships, not dealerships, no, go to the shops, somebody you actually trust that will do a good job, has a good reviews. I would go there. Of course, dealership is your very most expensive way of getting oil change, and the cheapest, best way, in my opinion, is do it yourself. That way, you tighten it, you pour in the right amount of oil, you actually change the oil. You don't know if they actually changed it or not. So in this case, that's how I do it. So going back, the 86,000 miles, 86,599 miles. So I did that at I did a service Meineke Car Care Center. I did front brake pads and rotors, and that cost me $385.37. Yeah, so there you go. So if you were ever wondering how much it would cost to do brakes and rotors, just the front ones, but I think the rear should be same. Um, Almost $400. Okay, just in perspective, if we're gonna compare it to anything else. All right, so moving on to 87,992 miles. I did another oil change at Meineke, which is $80. So the price were pretty consistent. Then at 92,000 miles, 92,776 miles, Meineke Car Center did an oil change, fan belt, cooling system. Alright, so that cost me at $240. You can see all the labor cost, the part cost, and the fees and stuff. So by this time I already know they had similar fees. Especially like if you're doing a regular oil change in Meineke, will charge you $1 in fees. That's for shop. Like if they have shop supplies, or you had to like use tools and stuff like that. That's what they charge. But for this one, they charge $12.50 just for fees, then $8.83 for taxes. The part itself was only $113.63. The labor was $104.89. So you're talking about the part and labor almost costing you the same. Yeah, so you could save so much money if you did it by yourself. I'm just telling you, if you have that opportunity, just do it yourself. It's so much. I obviously think it'll be faster. It'll be. I'm telling you, okay, I get it. If you're learning and you're working in your car, okay, it might take you a little longer, but I'm telling you, once you get it down, like, you're gonna be doing it like this, and you're gonna be saving so much money. I mean, you're paying just as much for the part as you are for labor. That's insane. So, like I said, that service cost me $240. So at 98,682 miles, did another oil change, was for $80. And then 105,152 miles. I did another oil change. That one was $80. And to sum it all up, the total was $1,823 in just the year of 2020. So I think that's pretty good. We're doing under $2,000 in a whole year of just service. I think that's still pretty good. So, yeah, doing good. Alright, so the year was 2021. Oh boy. Okay, so let's get into it. So when the mileage was at 111,278 miles, did another oil change at Toyota. Did oil change, alignment, tires, balance, tune-ups. Sometimes they'll send you some coupon codes, and you're thinking, oh, I'm gonna save because I got this coupon. Well, let's see how much if we save. And so, looking at that, the labor was $140.45. Parts was $38.23. Fees $16.11. Tax $1.62, and your total is $164.19 for oil change, alignment, tires, balanced, and a tune-up. So I gotta say, it's not too bad. Coupon saving can help a little bit there. So then I think what happened here was they didn't have spark plugs or something, so it wasn't too long until I was back at the dealership service area, and at 111,464 miles, and I had to change the spark plug. So this is the first time apparently I've changed the spark plugs at 111,000 miles. Alright, and so that labor was $90. The part was $69.32. The fees was $13.50. Taxes $4.16, and total of $176.98. So basically, it would cost you more just to do the spark plugs than for them to change the oil, give you an alignment, to balance your tires, and do a little tune-up. I dang, like that's like wow, wow. All right, moving on. So at 116,381 miles, I did another service at Toyota dealership. So I got an oil change, air filter replaced, brake fluid flush changed, which that the labor cost $107.57. The part was $106.86, and the fees was $3.68. Tax was $5.70, and the total was $216.45. All right. So, well, they did do a few things, so it's not just one thing. Okay. So moving on. So next service was at 121,462 miles. I went to Spartanburg and Toyota, which is my local Toyota dealership, not the far one that I got the car from. So I did an inspection. Wiper blades were changed, cabin air filter replaced, and an oil change. So let's see what that dealership was costing me. So the labor was $25, which is significantly cheaper than the Greenville one. Then you got the part was $116.59. The fees was $4.50. The tax was $8.16, and total of $154.25. Alrighty, so I mean labor is better at this one. The part's a little bit pricier than the others, but yeah. Anyway, next. Alright, so as you can see, I was doing the 5,000 mile oil changes. Okay, at first I was doing that, but there was a time I did 10,000 mile oil changes, which it's not that bad. Okay, don't judge. Okay, so at 126,571 miles, did it at Meineke, did an oil change, and they do tire rotations as well. So their price was, so you got $8.80 just on labor. You have $65.99 on parts, which just for oil. Fees, $1 for shop fees. Tax was only $4.69, and total was $80.48. So now you kind of could see, like, okay, there's a dealership in Greenville, dealership in Spartanburg, there's, Meineke, and out of all, I kind of like Meineke because, it's kind of saving me the most money. I mean, just looking at that, their price on labor, it's cheaper than it is at dealerships or even other shops. So yeah, that's that. Then as you can see, same thing, oil change for next 5,000 miles. So yeah, the 132,000 mile oil change, the 138,000 mile oil change, and then 145,479 mile oil change. And they're all consistent. You could tell they're pricing the labor, same thing, $8.80, and then $65.96 for parts, and fees $1, tax under $5, a total of $80 for an oil change. So it's not bad, better than over $100 at the dealership. Then on 08, 13, 21, have to do it every year. You have to do it pay taxes, right? So we have to renew the registration, and that cost me, let's see here. So they also have $1 fee, and the tax was $302.37, which is why you pay why you pay to renew registrations for taxes, right? And total was only $303.37. Okay, now be mindful that I did this before I knew about the high mileage deduction. So like when you have a lot of miles, like over a limit, over their specific amount. I don't know how other states work, but just in my state, if you say you have a high yield, you first go to the treasurer's office. You tell them, it's like, hey, I have high mileage, and write how much miles you have on there, and then you pay your taxes, and therefore it's usually a lot cheaper than that. And so later on I'll tell you about that. So but as of now, I didn't know that. I just paid whatever they threw at me. I just paid it. All right. So and next, so when I hit 155,984 miles, I did another service at Toyota, and this one was a juicy one. I mean, I went in there for a service recall, and so when I did that, it was for a low voltage, low voltage fuel pump, something like that. So it had to do with the fuel pump was bad. And so when I got in there, not only did I do the fuel pump, I did the air filter, alignment, oil change, front and rear brakes and rotors, transmission fluid, that's important, antifreeze coolant flushed, and cabin air filter, tires, tires rotated, I think that's what it's supposed to say. And so the labor on this was $673.80. I mean, that's just insane. Then the part was $622.65, and the fees was $40. Tax was $35.59, which a total, now get this, the total $1,292.04. That is the first time I spent over $1,000 just for service. I was like, what did I just do? What did I just do? It was crazy. So don't be fooled, right? Don't if there's a recall, just do the recall. Don't let them fool you. Okay, I was one of those guys like, okay, well, might as well while I'm here, do that. Okay. So next mileage, 159,337 miles. I did a Lyft inspection, because every year you have to do an inspection for Lyft and Uber as well. But this time I think I just stayed with Lyft, and so that Lyft inspection cost me only $23, right? So $20 for labor, $3 fee, 21 cents for taxes, in just $23. So that wasn't too bad. And then when I hit 166,436 miles, I did another oil change and a fuel service. They included that in there. So it was $134.95 for labor. It was $52.32 for the parts, and it was $12.40 for fees, $6.28 for tax, and in all total $205.95. Yeah, it's a lot of money for an oil change, but they also did a fuel service, so I guess I didn't know better, whatever. So then finally, 176,707 miles, I did an oil change, complete fuel service, then engine air filter replacement, nail and passenger rear tire. So that was patched. Luckily, didn't have to spend $200 on that. So that one, the labor was only $55.45. The part was $38.23. The fees was $8.32, and tax was $2.29, which a total of $104.29. All right, so the whole year of 2021, and it cost me $2,962.58. So right here, it's it's a little bit more than the previous year, but we're still not that much. I still think $3,000 a year is not too bad in service. And that concludes the 2021 year. So the year was 2022, and this was a shorter year for me on maintenance wise. So in the first month of 2022, I was at 186,519 miles. I went to Toyota of Greer, and here I just went for an oil change. Turns out they recommended oil change, brake fluid, flush, alignment, transmission fluid, wiper blades, tire rotation, a coolant flush. Did I mention transmission fluid again? So yeah, this one, it was pricey. So this one, the labor itself was $485.96. The parts in total cost $368.58. So we're looking at more labor cost than just in parts. And then the fees was $7.50, and the tax was $26.33. In all total, which this oil change cost me $873.34. Yeah, you could tell I'm not going back there again. So I should have just canceled everything else but the oil change. But either way, you know. Moving on to the third month of 2022, I was at 196,747 miles. I went to Meineke Car Care Center just for an oil change. Now you see why I keep going between the dealership and different shops. And that one, the same like previously, the labor cost $8.80. And it could be partially because they did do an Uber discount to an extent. Yeah, so yeah, the labor was $8.80. The parts was $52.76, which is kind of similar to what you can get at local parts store just for the oil. So then the fees was $1, and tax was $3.76, in total of $66.32. So this time Meineke was actually cheaper than the previous time where it was like 80 bucks. Okay, so on the fifth month, so May the 6th, I was at 206,781 miles. I went to Toyota of Greenville for an oil change. And surprisingly, at this time, the oil change, since it took over an hour, they said, okay, you know what, don't worry about it, it's on us, because it took too long. I literally paid nothing for that one. So no labor, no part, no shipping, nothing, just $0 out the door for, I guess, wasting my time. Okay, so 08, 17, 2022, I had to get the registration renewed, and again, I didn't, I don't have records. I apologize, I don't have records of what was the mileage when I got the registration, but trust me, I did a registration renewal, and that one cost me $250. I believe this is when I started to realize, like, the high mileage deduction. When you go to the treasurer's office, you could send them and send the information to them, tell them like you actually had a high mileage that year, and they will deduct it. And so in this case, it went from $300 to $250. All right, so I mean, $50, you could save some money that way if you did actually put a lot of miles that year. Okay, so next you have 09, 02, 2022. I had 226,649 miles at the time. Again, I went to Toyota of Greenville. I did brake fluid, flush, and an oil change. And that, for labor, that cost me $218.11. The parts was $119.80. The fees was $32.72. Taxes was $7.18, which gives us a total of $377.81. All right. Next, just a couple of days later, I had to do an inspection for Uber. So right here, I was actually doing an Uber inspection, which I thought I only drove for a little bit. for Uber until it's dropped it. But anyway, so right here I did the Uber inspection when I had 227,000 miles, which only cost me $19.95. Alright, so at 10/25/2022 I had 237,138 miles on my car. Went to Toyota Greenville again for an oil change, and this time labor was $25.50. The parts cost $38.23. The fees was $3.83. Taxes $2.29, and a total of $69.85. All right, and then at 10/27/2022, I was around 240,000 miles. I went to National Tire and Battery. So that's at NTB. This is already a different shop. I was like trying to find a cheaper and better alternatives, which was nearby me. All I did was just get a windshield wiper, and they did not install it. I installed it myself. So the part was only $39.98. And then the fees was $4. The tax was $2.80, which is a total of $46.78. Which, I don't know, maybe I could have found a better deal than that, but that's what I had at the time. And in December 17 of 2022, I was at 246,458 miles. Went to Toyota dealership again. Got an alignment, oil change, tires balanced and rotated, and that cost me $185.40 in labor, and just in parts was only $38.23. The fees was $27.81. The tax was $2.29, which is a total of $253.73. Alright, so in all, the total of 2022 expenses just in maintenance was $1,957.78.